I've got all the holes filled in, and with my glue slash sawdust mix. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give this a rough sand on here and on the ends. I have a piece on the end here as well that I'm going to do. Reason why is I'm going to rotor the edges off, and when I route the edges off in the router, I need the surface to be completely flat, or the router will kind of do, it'll follow the contour of whatever's there, if it's glue or whatever. So I'm just going to give it a rough sand and sand off those bumps and and then we'll go on with the routing. I've got the router set up for the edges. Everything looks pretty good. So I'm going to be doing the legs first because I do have the router mounted in my on the side of the table saw. So once I'm done with the legs, I'll take it off. I'll do the tabletop. That's my legs there, the bit I'm using, and then the tabletop. We'll get at her. Using the Dremel just to get this and open it up a little bit, just to show a picture of the better. Getting to the sanding part, I'm going to do the legs first. Like I said before, I'm going to start with 120 and then probably 220 because the legs are pretty smooth, so I don't really need to go to 80. There's nothing, I have no real big blemishes that I need to take out, so I'm going to go to 80, 120 to 220, and then maybe I'll do 320 probably on the tabletop itself. sander for the bottom of the table because there's a fair bit of glue and stuff on here and it's not easy to take off. This obviously isn't as critical as the top part, so what I'm going to do is just belt sand all these uglier pieces off and finish it off with the palm sand. The problem that happens is the glue gets really hot, and when it gets hot it gets soft and it doesn't want to get, you can't sand it off easy. That is not the same when you put the sawdust in the glue. Of course this is a seam, so I didn't have any sawdust in there, but it's always a pain. So you gotta wait for it to kind of cool off before you start sanding it. It gets soft. You see it's already getting hard here again. It's the way it is. Pain. Okay, I've got the sanding done. Just getting ready to glue the legs in place. Now what I was going to do was maybe stain them separately and have the legs different color than the tabletop. But I think I'm just going to keep it all the same color, so it's going to be easier to do that and glue it all together. That way you don't, the legs aren't stained and the glue will stick and everything else. So this is what I've got. So this is the bottom, obviously. All the legs are in place. Not glued in place yet. So what I'm going to do is going to make sure all the legs are the same height, just in case there's any variations of depth from the routing and whatnot. So I'm going to set up and do that. I've already got the corners rounded off and sanded and whatnot, so I need a straight edge to stick out to make sure that I'm not, measuring to the right spot for height. Should be about 28 1/4. Yep. Not going to adjust that at all. Now I know they're the right height. So to make sure the height is exactly right, and it's 30 inches, again, rounded edges everywhere, so I have this piece on top, this piece here at the bottom, this is just slightly in there, flush to the top. Again, I don't want to go to the rounded edge, I want to make sure it's as accurate as possible. So let's measure from here up. It should be 30 inches plus minus a tiny bit. And we're at basically exactly 30. So that's going to be perfect. I'm going to go around and do this to all four, and then that way we know for sure that everything is the right height. And it's way easier to trim this now on this edge than it is after it's all put together. I've made this mistake in the past. Of course, I should have thought about this before I sanded everything and got it all finished and ready to stain, but say la vie. And that's perfect, so they're all good. That's amazing. Okay, my least favorite part of most projects, the glue up. The table isn't perfectly smooth or level, of course, why would it be? So these aren't going to be perfectly 90-degree angles. So I'm going to do the best I can, struggle through it, and make it look as good as I can. Also, this piece here was a little bit shorter, so I had to put spacers. Bring it up to the proper height to match the other ones. Anyway, here we go. I think that's going to be good. I'll get the glue around the edges a little bit. Try to smear some into the sides, make sure that we get some in there. And then that'll be good, I hope. So that's going to be a real pain. As you can see, I smeared glue all the way around there. I got it in the cracks though, so that's going to be important. I am going to go with these, I don't normally do, but one way to get rid of the glue, I'm going to scrape off the excess. So I'm going to get some hot water and cloth and just wipe it off so that it comes off before it hardens and cures. So I'm going to do that right now. As you can see, I had to pull this one over a bit, and the only way to do it is to hook it up to my planer stand. And you can see how that worked out with wiping the glue off. There's still some gaps there, but that's all right. The glue got in the sides and the ends. And I'm going to go around after and just fill that with glue and make it all nice and formed around there. So it'll be all the way around and it'll be all nice. And this here, because I did get it wet, it's going to be a little bit rough because of the water on there, but it'll be easy to sand off. A lot easier than trying to get that glue off. So yeah, pretty happy with that actually. When the glue is done curing, it does shrink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill those gaps in. I've got this here that'll come in that little syringe. What I'm going to do is just put some glue in there, some sawdust, a little bit of sawdust, and then some, thin it out with the water and put it in the, inject it in those little holes. That way it won't make a huge mess and it should fill that in and look good. Well, we're gonna try that. So I got this little syringe here, obviously, as you can see. I'm gonna use that. And hopefully this is thin enough that it'll actually go in there and I can just go along without making a huge mess. All right, let's see if my idea is gonna work. That filled up pretty decent. Let's see. So that worked out not too bad. So I'm going to give it a bit, because generally what will happen is that glue seep in there after some time. So I'll just keep going, and hopefully I can go and do a round 2 by the time I get done all 4. Okay, so that actually turned out pretty good. With any luck, that glue will seep down into those crevices and then fill them in, and then I'll be done with that, and I can put like a finishing edge around there. If not, I can just leave it the way it is, sand it down, and it should be good. I'm going to keep an eye on it for the next hour or so and see. Hopefully it does, and if not, it's good the way it is. These legs are going to be super solid anyways. Didn't turn out too bad. Filled in most of the gaps. Couple little ones there. For the most part, did what I wanted it to do. See there, that's pretty good on there, both sides there. Just a couple little ones there. A little bit over there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna fill it in with the regular glue mixed with sawdust, and that'll cover up that old glue that doesn't sand and doesn't stain very well. And I'll make it fairly thick so that it'll be kind of pasty when it goes in there, and it'll cover it all up and it'll look nice, and should hopefully look pretty good. The least part of any project that I do is the finishing, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to be staining this thing with the color that we picked, and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing. I've got this pre-stain, oil-based pre-stain. Again, that's supposed to stop any sort of blotchy patches from occurring. And I've got the old Jacobine Minwax penetrating stain and the Minwax fast drying polyurethane warm satin, which apparently warm satin is just another word for clear satin. Why they didn't call it clear satin, I don't know, but that's what I've got. So this is going to be the finish. So I'm going to set up and get at it.
When you finally find your soulmate. Come here for a mix-a-lot. That's what it feels like when discovering new music.
Oh!
Crashmere. The world-famous Seafox.
And that will be it. That is this final staining on there that I'm going to do. Tomorrow is just going to be a clear coat. And you can kind of see how it looks. I don't think it looks too bad. The only problem that I get with dark stain is you get things like that from the orbital sander. You can't see that until you stain it. I mean, it's all right. I don't mind that. It adds a bit of character. You kind of got to wonder what happens somewhere along here with that. But you also get some of the glue spots that didn't quite get stained up as well. But that's, again, character, right? So, yeah, all in all, pretty pleased with that and the color and the way it went. Staining is done. I'm happy with it. Looks pretty good. The only thing that kind of didn't turn out awesome was this little line here. You can see there's definitely a line where I wiped over from the top down, which I kind of thought was going to happen. And I'm not really concerned with it because it's on the bottom, but I didn't want to have any of this two different tones on the top side. So I made sure that if it was going to happen, it was going to be underneath by the way I rubbed it over. So that's okay though, doesn't bother me in the least, but everything else looks really good. Getting onto the clear coat now. Okay, clear coat's done. Looks not too bad. The top will be a little bit different. There's still some little swirly lines in there. It should dry out or cure out pretty level and flat. Again, I'm not too concerned at the bottom, so. The clear coat's done. I used a polyurethane clear coat on here. I'll post a picture of it later. Didn't turn out all that great. Like I said, I've never claimed to be a good finisher, and it's always my biggest pain. I hate finishing projects. I don't mind making them, and I don't mind finishing it. They just never seem to turn out all that great. What I had was a Minwax fast drying polyurethane finish on here. I used a foam brush to put it on. The foam brush, method works good, but I think because it was fast drying, it just dried too fast and didn't have a chance to actually smooth out and level out before it cured. So I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. I don't know if you can see it in there all that well, but you can see like there's little lumps and stuff all over, and you can kind of see it in the window or in the shadows there. If you look across, like even in the sunlight here, you can see. Yeah, always frustrating when you do that. You get to the end of this project, and then the final thing that's going to make it look the best is the one thing that kind of looks out first. So I have an idea, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand it down with 220 and then 320 and then buff it. And I think because of there's 4 coats on there, so I think that because it's still pretty fresh and it's really fine grain, it's probably going to look okay. And if not, well, then I'll just put another coat on. I'll maybe find a different type of finish. So we'll get at it and see how it works. Hopefully, fingers crossed, does the trick. Just finished with the 220, I'm going to do the 320. It does look better, feels better already. So, continue on. So I've done this polishing thing before and it's worked out pretty good. I brought the table inside. I don't like it sitting out in the sun, it's getting really hot. So I have this little polishing wheel that I don't actually have a polishing rig or anything. I used this. I read up a while ago that cotton is a really good way to smooth and buff this type of finish, the polyurethane finish. And I've done it before and it's worked pretty good. Doesn't need a whole lot, so that's what I'm going to use. And hopefully, like I said, I don't need the thing to be completely perfect and glass smooth. I just wanted to get all those ugly ridges out that, from the brush strokes and everything else. Well, it still looks like shit. Shocker. Okay, so the next plan I have is I've got some tung oil, and I've read that you can kind of just wipe it on there and it'll absorb into that oil-based, because I used oil-based polyurethane, because they're both oils. I'll have to just put it on, dab it on with a cloth, and just to bring out the finish and smooth it out a bit so it doesn't look rough on top or like it's been sanded. I'm just gonna try a tiny little corner, let it sit for a bit and see if that does the job. Okay, so after a little bit of research, I decided to go with this polyurethane varnish or finish here. I'm gonna try this, rub it on. This is a rub on. I don't need to put it thick because there's already the 4 coats on there of the other stuff, so it should go over top. It should kind of satin it up a bit and take away the scuff marks from my earlier sanding. Hope so. I actually don't mind that. It doesn't look too bad. Hopefully it looks good when it's dried out there, and if not, put another coat on. Probably will anyways, just to make sure. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so that's about 5 coats of that hand wipe polyurethane on there. It actually turned out pretty good. So that's it for the table. I'll post some pictures of where it's going to be in the kitchen, how it looks in there. And like I said, I'm not a good finisher. That's kind of my least thing to do. I don't mind everything up to the point of actually putting on the stain and the polyurethane or whatever. But that's why I'm an average dad. I'm not the superstar at this. I just do what I do, and it turns out pretty good most of the times. It's not going to be professional grade, just like this table. It's good, but it's, you know, not professional. So anyways, if you do like this kind of thing, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.